I declare a quorum. I'm going to call the City of Groton Mayor and Council meeting for Monday, August 6, 2018 to order. Clerk Patrick, please call the roll.
Present are Mayor Keith Hedrick, Deputy Mayor Lawrence Garish, Councilors Joe Russ, Jamal Reckenberg, Stephen Sheffield, Manager Depot, Rashad Carter, Finance Director Ron Newhouse, Clerk Deborah Patrick.
Okay, please stand and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is recognitions, awards, and memorials. Director Hill, Parks and Rec Director.
Thank you. Just want to take a moment of time to share an accomplishment from one of our staff members of the Parks and Recreation Department. I would like to have Valerie Koshmeter please join me up here.
Come on, Val.
Yes, I made him bring you. So, September 2013, Val became a member of the staff of the Parks and Recreation Department. She became a little nervous. Her only involvement with Parks and Recreation was her kids partaking in events and programs that were run in the past. As some of you know, she's added quite a bit of new things and items to our department. We're online registration. We have bus trips that I know a handful have gone to. She wanted to go back to school. Some things that didn't work out for her didn't happen, so I got her a membership to the National Parks and Recreation Association about a year and a half ago. So she could do webinars and continue the education in that learning process. While doing that, she stumbled upon the National Recreation and Parks Association certification program. She sat for her exam in April, and she passed. So now Val is a certified Parks and Recreation professional with the National Parks and Recreation Association, which is recognized nationally. I've had this certification since 2002, and I'm very proud and excited that Val accomplished this. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention and embarrass her a little bit.
That is tremendous.
I just wanted to say that I truly appreciate the support of Mary in letting me pursue this, and she's been very supportive of my ideas and what I brought to the department, and it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other recognition, awards, and memorials?
Yes.
Councilor
I'd like to recognize a classmate of mine from Fitch High School, Kent Lagasse, who had passed away on June 11th, and there was a memorial service for him on July 14th. He was an Iraq War veteran. He passed away sadly from complications from meningitis. He was wounded in Iraq. I guess a mortar hit his base very close to him, and he suffered a lot of injuries, but he had recovered to some degree, and he was an Army medic over there in Iraq, and he won numerous awards, commendations while serving his tour over there, and I had no idea that he had done all those things while living over there and serving his country with distinction, and I admire him a great deal, and he was also a chaplain as well for the Army, so he'll be sorely missed, and I hopefully the town of Groton will, have something in his honor at some point in the future, because truly had a great career, great life, and was well loved by folks that he went to school with here. And I was, like I said, he graduated with me in high school, so yeah, that's all.
Councilor Russ.
I just wanted to thank Clerk Deb Patrick and the city employees for another amazing city day. I know you put a lot of work into it, and as well as employees, and so thank you all. I know put a lot in. Thank you.
Anyone else? I wanted to take this opportunity for those of you that are not aware or were not at City Day. Our own Groton Utility employee Martin Crower was the Jacqueline B. Nixon Award winner for this year for his work with the Fitch Falcons and their success. And the team submitted a team letter with his recommendation package and this year. So it was great to recognize volunteer, but it was particularly nice to have a Groton Utility employee win that award. Okay, we'll move on to receipt of citizens petitions. Deb, we may want to pass that around because we have some new people that have arrived. If you're here to speak, if you could sign up, that way we can get you guys in order. Everyone will get the opportunity to speak.
I'm having a hard time hearing
Well,
some of you up there, but I know it's the AC. I'm not complaining. I like the AC. I don't know why this room isn't filled with people tonight.
If you can just state your name and your address.
Sherry
please, for the-
Nielsen, 205 Shore Avenue, City of Groton. My husband did the math. Our sewer bill's a wash. I'm not here to comment about that. My comment pertains to something I read some months ago in the little newsletter that comes out with our utilities bills every month. And it encouraged us who own garbage grinders in our kitchen sinks, disposals, to please use them for all our wet kitchen garbage, because that is not a good thing to put in the cans that go to the burning facility. The instructions for every garbage disposal I have ever owned say, use a lot of water. Run water first, continuously feed small amounts of food down there, and after you turn the switch off, continue to run water to flush it all through. I'm going to be real conscientious now about how much water I am using, maybe more so than before when that sewer thing was all buried in our tax bill and I wasn't looking at it every month. But I'm just wondering what the trade-off might be if I choose not to use my kitchen garbage grinder in the sink and all that water, and I just put wet garbage into my trash. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is James Parizo. I live at 945 Eastern Point Road here in Groton. I am a 45-year resident of the city of Groton. First time I've ever been to one of these meetings, so it's my bad for not being here earlier. I'll say thank you to all of you. You all do a very difficult job hearing some of us come and complain, but I know your hearts are all in the right place. You care about our great city, and that's why probably everybody in this room is here. My qualm is with the sewer water bill here. $122.80. My bill went up this month. I use a lot of water. I use water to water my lawn. I live across from the golf course, and they have this fancy links golf course going with Groton Town where they want the grass to grow 5 feet tall so it's harder to play. Well, if I don't keep my lawn healthy, that ends up in my front yard, and I have everything you can imagine growing in my yard. Like I said, I live at 945 Eastern Point Road. I care about my house. I care about my yard. My cars are clean, and that's how I live my life, and I'd like to keep it that way, but $122 a month is exorbitant to me. So what I'm asking is, what are you doing with my $122 a month? Because if it's going to water taxis and other things that I may not approve of, I'm really not happy with that. We are a great little community with the big items or big companies in our town, Pfizer, EB, trying to get off the grid of power and all that. So I understand we're trying to find a way to bring in some revenue, you know, to keep up with the Joneses. But if you can't afford a new car, you don't buy a new car. So maybe if we can reel in some of the spending on things we don't need, or things that I would say we don't need, and you know, find other avenues to save some money. I understand that it was supposed to be, from what I understand, it was supposed to be $25 to $50 a month per household, and I could stomach that even with a couple kids in college and, you know, working some overtime to help out. But I think we're getting a little crazy here with what we're expecting of our taxpayers. I know we cut back on the garbage service and such, and I get it, we have to cut back. But I'm asking you all to be fiscally responsible, as I am at my house, with what we're spending and where it goes. You know, maybe it's time to not have concerts on Friday nights. I know they're great events and they bring us together, and people probably spend a few dollars at the neighboring delis or whatever to bring something to eat that night. But is it cost effective, that $5,000, or I've heard even more, to run a concert on a Friday night? Is it cost effective? And while that's going on, you can't use our incredible baseball diamonds in that area because you can't play on Friday nights. What night do we want to play? We want our kids to be outside on Friday night to play on these ball fields, and nobody can play down there because we're having concerts. So how many people are going? So I'm just, like I said, I'm just asking you guys to be, you know, responsible. You know, see where this money is going for this sewer tax. And you know, just be cognizant that not all of us have deep pockets, you know, and you know, there has to be some cutback in my home if I want to keep my house looking a certain way, to keep my home values in my area up, because this is what I expect. I want to live near the beach, I get it, I pay more taxes. You know, I want my lawn to look nice, I have to use more water, I have to pay more. But how much are you asking me to pay, and what's fair? So I'm just asking you to keep in mind. You know, us little guys in the city that have been here all 45 years of my life, and I don't plan on leaving, but don't force me out either, because if I have to move on, then I'll move on at some point. And I may not have been to one of his meetings before, but I've coached baseball, soccer, wrestling, been a good person in the community, raised good kids, and you know, I'd like to remain here. So I thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Clerk Patrick, who's next? Osman?
How you doing, Mayor?
Hi.
Nice to see you in person after our conversation that we had over the phone. And I want to thank you in person for taking the time and speaking to me about this whole sewage issue.
Before you get started, if you could state your name and your address for the record.
Yes, of course. My name's Eric Osman. I live at 125 Eastwood.
Yes, sir, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor. So I did speak to the mayor about the situation with the sewer, and I brought some documentation with me tonight in regards to this issue. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I have two bills here. And the first bill was for the month of May to June. It was $143.19. Then your sewage bill went into effect, and for the month of July, it went up to $260.22. So my question is with this whole thing, and this goes on with this gentleman keeping his house nice. I also keep my house nice. I also water my lawn. I also keep my cars clean. But where does that water go? That water goes right directly into the ground. So why am I being charged for something that's going directly into the ground? Why is my rate and my usage the same amount? And I think it's an unfair fee. I consider it an unfair tax at this point. And I want to make that record straight. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brochu.
Good evening. My name is Russell Brochu. I reside at 19 Crouch Street in Groton. Same issue, sewer. I was trying to run the numbers here. I'm not quite sure how many residents or customers that the Groton Utilities have. It's got to be around 5,000 or something. Can't we do a flat fee? If you have to pay $30, $35 a month extra on everybody's bill, you're going to pay, if you use more water, you're going to pay for your water. But with the sewage, I mean, like everyone's here, a lot of it goes in the ground. You want to power wash your house, clean your driveway, wash cars. I just don't think we should be getting taxed like that, especially when our bills are double. Mine's still pay more for waste than I do for water. So I would just ask you to consider doing a flat fee for every resident. I mean, you need $5 million. Just do the math, you know? Do it till we get it done. $30, $35 a month increase all across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other people in the audience who would like to speak? Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Sherry Nielsen, 205 Shore. When my husband ran all the numbers and he went to the town hall and the city hall, and he said, you know, it would have been very handy if when this increased utility bill came out, if there was a whole explanatory sheet so that you would go to your tax bill, you know what percentage of that tax bill was used for sewers last year. You know what the mill rate is for this year. We know that the sewer station, the pumping station, has to be updated. We know that new sewer pipes have to be put in. So the sewer budget this year is going way up, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But for each individual homeowner, like my husband did, you can do the math with the mill rates, with your assessment, with your bill, and see in dollars and cents per month for a year what used to be buried in a general overall tax bill. So as I said earlier, ours is kind of a wash now. But I think it's real important for the residents to know that this coming year, the sewer, the whole budget is going way up because we need so many improvements.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am. If you could please state your name for the record and your address, please.
I'm Dottie Streeter. I'm the property manager down on Thames Street. One of my tenants happens to be Paul's Pasta. Paul goes through a lot of water in the summer, $400 worth. Normally it's 3, he goes 4. He came in, Paul is not a complainer. His bill is $900. The landlord, who lives in Mexico, is not a happy camper. Both her and I have tried to find out what sewer bills are, how much they were before. We are not able to do it online by calling anybody, and Paul is a big asset to this city. He brings in hundreds and hundreds of people. I myself have Ken's Tackle Shop next door. And like I said, $900 going from $400 at its highest to $900 a month. We need to know, is that a sewer? His water should be the same. Should that have gone the extra, that's $6,000 a year, by the way. Should that go to the landlord? Are you putting sewer in with the water when in fact the sewer was paid by the property owners before? So that was included in your bill years ago as part of your property tax. And now what's happened is Paul is getting what I would call a property tax on top of his water bill.
Can you, I'm sorry, can I ask for clarification on that? Can you explain what you're meaning?
Well, according to what I understand, your sewer bill was part of your property tax. When you got your property tax, you got your sewer bill. So now Paul is a tenant. He is not an owner. He's leasing it. Why is he and other businesses getting a sewer bill? That should be going to the owner of the property. Paul should be paying his $400 or $500, not $900 a month.
It's almost similar to somebody who owns a multifamily. I guess that's up to the owner of the property and the tenant. So if the owner of the property has to renegotiate with Paul, that's up to them. That's not something that we're entitled to.
Hold on. Nadia, are you saying that when he got his water bill, the sewer bill was part of that?
That's correct, it's $900.
Okay.
His bill is $900.
Before you leave here tonight, get my card, because I want you to call me so we can talk about this tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll get you to Tina, we'll get these answers.
Because if other business people, like Paul, like I say, he's a tenant, he's not the owner of that block.
Right.
If he's getting that, to me, that should have gone to the landlord who has always paid that. It's always been part of her property tax.
I understand your issue. Well, before you leave, get my card,
Okay,
and I will get your resolution on this.
okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, this is the response to citizens petitions.
Do you want to go first and then?
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out. It actually feels good to me to see this many people coming out, because I look out here week after week after week and there's absolutely no one in the audience. It doesn't mean that people aren't watching, but to get the interaction is important, and it shows that you're interested in your community. Thank you for coming out. I'm going to try to explain a couple things and address a couple things here. I will use my bills as an example, so bear with me. My my bill last went from $162 to $349. And my wife's like, what in the heck is going on? What are you doing to me? You're killing me. And I'm like, well, let's look at the bill. Let's see what's going on here. Because what a lot of people do is they look at the bottom line number and they have an emotional reaction to the bottom line number, which makes sense. But then they don't look at what makes up that number. So when I got her to look at the usage, our electric usage went from 863 kilowatt hours in the previous month to 1,703 in 1 month. So my electric usage doubled. My water usage went from 300 cubic feet to 800 cubic feet because she has a raised bed garden. And she tends to water the raised bed until we get a little lake out there. And then the sewer fee was based on the 800 cubic feet, was $52. Now, when you add all that up, it looks like it is a large number. It's not a small number. But a lot of that was because of usage, her usage and our usage. My water bill this month was actually $51.51, and my sewer bill was $52.60. So it's close. I would consider that a wash. Some people wouldn't. But one of the questions is why, if you look at the rates on your bill, the water rate is 0.044 and the sewer rate is 0.054. And the question that I get sometimes is why is the sewer rate higher than the water rate? And I'm going to try to explain it this way. We get water out of Smith Lake, which is over by the water station, by the water treatment plant. That water comes out of the lake. It's fairly clean, but it does not meet the purity standards. We then have to process that water, and we have to meet the current standards that the state of Connecticut has. So there's a price and a cost to doing that. But that water is probably drinkable out of the lake. As opposed to when you look at the brown water, gray water that we put in the sewer, we have to process that water before we can discharge that into the Thames River. It has to meet nitrogen requirements, it has to meet biosolid requirements, it has to meet a lot of requirements which are similar to the potable water requirements. They're not the same thing, and it doesn't meet potable water drinking requirements. But if you look at, you can imagine how much it takes to process the dirty water. There's other things that I think that may have contributed to this. And that is, when we rolled this out, we rolled it out in July. And people have asked me, why'd you roll it out in July? And the reason I rolled it out in July was this. July is the beginning of a new fiscal year. What I did not want to do was go into a new fiscal year, apply a full tax on the taxpayers for a sewer, and then pull that sewer out of the tax base at some time in the year, either first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, even fourth quarter, and then apply a fee on top of that. Because I think that would be doing a disservice to the constituents. It just so happens, if you look at your bills, you'll see everybody's got charts here. Well, just so happens June, July, and August are the hottest months of the year, and so our usage goes up. That does contribute. I would have loved to have been able to roll it out in October and November when the usage is lower and therefore your bill would have been lower. It just happened to roll out here. In addition to that, we all got our tax bills in July. Now, typically when we get our tax bills, if you are buying a home, well, I will own this statement. We're buying a home and I have my taxes escrowed. So we look at the tax bill, we complain about the tax bill, and then it's escrowed. I have friends that own their homes, so they look at their tax bill, they complain about their tax bill, and then they write the check. Nobody looks at the tax bill and says, I wonder how much of this money in this tax goes to process my poop. People don't say that. You're now getting a bill that shows you how much it costs to process the water. Okay? I understand where you're coming from. You have my commitment and the utilities commitment that I am going to evaluate the sewer fee every month, probably for the first year, maybe longer, but certainly for the first 6 months to a year, so that we can look. This is for us, it's a new process. But if you look at the state of Connecticut, we're one of the laggers in coming up with a sewer fee. Almost everybody else around us has a sewer fee or a sewer tax, depending on how they proclaim it. But what I've challenged Director Gaudet and Director Collard to do, Collard is the finance director, Ron Gaudet is the utility director, is look at this every month and look and see if what we said we're going to do is actually happening. Does this make sense? Is it working? Are we doing the right thing here? The other thing that I've said is that at about the 6-month point, which ends up being November, December time frame, I'm going to take a hard look and maybe tweak the rates. I'm sensitive to what you're saying. I have personally received some phone calls. Our customer service receives phone calls, and we are addressing them, and I am gathering the data from them. What are the calls about? Some of the calls are about because people said they didn't know. Some of the calls are about because of the .054 versus a 044. We are looking at that. I'm going to look at what the rate is. I'm going to look at how we charge. One of the things that we looked at was there's some states use a winter average. Because you do the winter average, you're not really discharging the water into the environment. when we did our winter average wasn't far off from our overall annual average. But I'm going to have us look at that again. We're also going to look at a flat rate. Is a flat rate the right thing to do? I don't know about that. Should it be tiered, meaning you have a flat rate up to a certain amount, and then once you get to a certain amount, you then start paying so many cents per cubic foot? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm putting that back on the table again, because we are going to look at this to see what the right answer is. My intent when I pulled the sewer out of the tax base was to help minimize the fluctuation in taxes, because what was happening is, in order to pay for some projects, the taxes would have to fluctuate based on what the size of the project was. Once the project got to a certain size, then we bonded it. And when we bonded it, the debt service also goes to your taxes. So what I did was we pulled it out to stabilize the taxes. Part of what you're seeing too is people are going, they're looking at last year's taxes, this year's taxes, are subtracting the two, multiplying it by the cost, by your property value, and they're coming up with a number, and that number doesn't match up with the number here. What I said in the beginning was, when we did the math, let me define we, when Finance Director Uhas and I did the math, there was a 2 mil difference. So you look and you say, well, why do I not see a 2 mil here? Part of this was, going into last year, we got hit with $460,000 increase in insurance and in pension. We also had a one-time loss of revenue of $230,000, which is around $700,000, which is about 3/4 of a mil. So if you go 3/4 of a mil plus 0.664, which is what we actually, which is the actual reduction, that puts you around $1.5 million. And then we have money in contingency, and I have that set aside so that next year, if my estimates are correct based on our forecasting, then we should be able to levelize taxes, or when the $230,000 in revenue comes back, we might even be able to lower taxes again next year. Because I'm trying to levelize taxes. The taxes going up and down, that kills us. Now, I know when you looked at your tax bills this year, you say, I recognize that the city of Groton lowered their taxes, but my tax bill went up. It's true, your tax bill did go up. My tax bill went up. The reason it went up is because the town raised taxes more than I was able to reduce taxes. That's part of the situation that we're in. Not apologizing for it, not making an excuse, just trying to state where we are. Now, let's talk about a couple of the things. The garbage disposal, you're right. They talk about putting water in. I run some water, put some in. I'll tell you, the worst thing I ever did one time was I tried to grind up a bunch of potato peels and didn't put enough water running through, and I had to take my piping apart because I had backup. So I'm with you. I understand where you're at on that. Mr. Parizo, the one thing, the Connecticut General Statute, there's Connecticut General Statutes that governs electric, water, and sewerage. What we've done now is we've put electric, water, and sewerage under the utility. So the utility is managing it now. We're not managing it over here with the council and with the mayor. That's not true. I still am managing with the utility. My hat is the CEO of the business. The Connecticut General Statute says I can make profit on electric. I cannot make profit on water. I cannot make profit on sewerage. Any monies that is made, any monies that is generated as a result of the operations of sewerage or water has to be retained in that sewerage or water account. They are separate accounts. So I assure you that that money is not going to anything but sewer or water or for electric. The concerts do not come out of a tax base. The concerts are funded by Groton Utilities as out of their electric revenues. That is true. Hold on. The only thing is that there is an overtime cost for my Parks and Rec to provide garbage support and to tear down at the end of the night, and that comes out of the Parks and Rec account, which is funded through taxes. What else? Let's see, is there anything else?
Outside meter.
Say again?
Outside meters.
Oh, thank you. One of the things my wife and I are looking at now is whether or not, well, she has already started, she has changed the way that she waters. For example, she doesn't turn the water off and then go away and come back and figure out, whoops, it's wet out here. She now comes in the morning, waters in the morning, sets a timer, goes back, turns it off. But one of the things that we're looking at is whether or not we want to go with an external meter. You can, if you use a lot of water for outside sources, for example, if you're filling pools, if you're watering gardens, watering lawns, washing cars a lot, things like that, you can get a meter. The meter's around $280, $300, and then it would have to be installed, and GU needs to get involved. They need to check it and talk to you about where they do it.
I don't know that that is always the price. I think
Okay.
there was a yeah, I think it might be a little bit higher than that.
Okay, because the number that I was given the other day was 300. Who said 350?
I said 350 at the last meeting. They said 350 at the last meeting plus the installation
Okay.
with a plumber.
Okay, then I need to go talk to the guy that
And that's just what they said.
Okay.
At the last
Yeah,
meeting.
I think the ending fee was around seven.
It was around $700 for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you could do that, but you would need to do, if you're going to go that route, my recommendation would be to evaluate the cost of the meter and the installation versus the savings. You would still pay for the water, but that water that went through that meter would not be exposed to the sewer fee. There was also some concern about the verbiage that we used, and it had said something about metered sewer charges. We had never intended to meter the sewerage from individual houses. It was always going to be based on water that was used. We have talked to other companies, and we have changed the wording on the bill, and future bills will say sewer usage charges. So to clear up then any confusion that may have caused. Councilor Deep.
Sorry to interrupt again. And just to make everyone aware, Tina, the customer service manager, said would welcome any phone calls to go over whether or not it would be beneficial to install the meter if people have
Right.
questions.
Can you hear? I'm sorry. It's so hard to hear in here.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to hear you.
No.
I did have one other question.
Let me get to the council so that I'm going to pause there. I'll let the council,
Would you like me to repeat what I said?
yes, please repeat.
Just so everyone knows, Tina, the customer service manager in the utility, said that if anyone has a question whether or not it would be beneficial to install that meter, she will go over the numbers with you and see whether or not it makes sense for you to incur that cost, if it's going to save you a fair amount of money.
And if the customer service number is at the bottom of your bill, it's 860-446-4000. And then you can ask for Tina or the general manager of customer service, and they'll get you to Tina. Councilor Rusk?
I think the only thing that I'm hoping we addressed most of your concerns. The one thing that I don't think was brought up was the flat fee, and I think that was your concern. We discussed that. We discussed a lot of this and a lot of the concerns that we had, whether it was, a high rate for different people, and we are concerned about the outside meter. And we realized that that is, it might be the right answer for a lot of people who use a lot of outside water. It is a big fee to start with, but it may make sense over time. And I, like Councilor Depot said, I would highly recommend talking to Tina about whether or not that's right for your family. For the flat fee, the reason why we didn't consider a flat fee in the start was because we really were trying to make it equitable for everybody. Prior to this, places like Avery Point weren't paying for their sewer usage because they were a school. And so because they weren't taxed, they weren't paying for their sewer. I was looking at my house value and my neighbor's house value, and with a family of 5, my sewer fee, or my water fee and my taxes, or my sewer portion of my taxes was the same as my neighbor, who might be a 90-year-old woman who, you know, doesn't use close to what my family of 5 uses. So that's kind of where we were all looking at. So we all had a lot of different opinions on it, but that's why we didn't consider the flat fee. We are all open to continuing to look at this. It's a new fee, a new way of doing this. We realize that it might not be perfect to start, and we want to really look at what's best. And so we appreciate everybody coming out. We really do. So we can continue to look at this.
Hold on. Clerk Patrick, how do I handle this if we have, because now we're past citizens petitions, we're into,
It's turning into debate.
second?
It's turning into debate.
Okay.
That's what you really shouldn't.
Can we just say that if we have any more future questions, to contact the mayor directly, or contact Tina directly, or contact one of us, feel free to send us an email, or meet with us after the meeting. But
Hold on a minute. Deb,
I know.
Deb, I'm going to allow it. I understand.
No,
I understand your objection to it.
it's not an
These guys,
objection. You
well,
asked
you're right, I did. And I understand the parliamentarian side of this, but I told people in the beginning they would get their opportunity to speak, and they're gonna get their opportunity to speak. Ms. Parizo, if you'd like to come back up.
Thank you, I'll be brief. I hear you start stating about the general statutes. Does Groton Utilities make money any other way besides water, sewer, and electric? They do not, correct? So their money that is generated and spent for...
Yeah, you're right.
Good.
When you say water, electric, and sewer, what do you mean?
The general statute that he
Is that
just...
the only rate, is that what you're saying, the only revenue stream? Because there's also other revenue streams besides just electric distribution. There's also other things that come through there, like for the water shop, for example, there's power rental revenues that come through. So there's other revenue streams potentially, but it all stays within that fund. If that, I just wanted to clarify that.
That does
maybe
help.
more than just water usage that's in that fund.
Yes, I know you had just said that the general statute states that money brought in from this is earmarked for this. And then he said, well, Groton Utilities pays for the concerts. Groton Utilities paid...
Out of electric.
Out of
Out of
electric.
electric. I said out of electric.
Out of electric?
Out of electric.
Only out
So
of
they don't follow the same
No,
general statutes?
you have a general statute for electric, you have a general statute for sewer, you have a general statute for water. The general statute for water and for sewer says all the funds that are generated as a result of fees or anything else have to stay in that revenue fund. So water has to stay in water, sewer has to stay in sewer. So I can't take water out of sewer to go fund just some frivolous thing that we want to do. It's gotta stay in that enterprise account for that purpose.
Okay.
Electric is the only account where we can make a profit. And so one of the things that they do is they give back to the community, and one of the ways they give back is through the concerts. There's other things that they do, but that comes out of electric. It's not out of the sewer, out of the water. I also want to put something to bed that's out there. There's an accusation there's a statement that's out there that these sewer fees are going to pay off TVC. That is absolutely wrong. Okay? Electric company owned TVC. That TVC debt is now being handled as bad debt, and that debt is being paid off by the electric, only by the electric. And that debt will go out till, I don't know, 24, 28, something like that. None of us like it. None of us want to. I would love to get, if I could wipe it, I would wipe it, but I can't. And so we're having to pay for it.
I appreciate you being patient with me and answering my questions. I'm sorry I must have missed that with the.
Sorry to hear.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, this is noisy. I have engineers that are supposed to be coming in to help me balance this so that we can get it cool and get rid of the noise. Sherry, would you like to come up and?
Sherry Nielsen, 205 Short. Refreshing my memory, the delivery charge dependent upon the size of the pipe coming into each property, how does that work?
Well, if you, a typical resident has a 5/8 inch pipe. So the sewerage fee is $9.40 for that. As it gets larger, for example, we have large water that goes to EB, goes to Pfizer. Even some of the townhouses, condominiums, those kind of, the rental properties have larger pipes that come in. So what they've done is the fee for that pipe is escalated, but everybody is still paying the same amount for water and for sewage. Another thing that we did evaluate is having I talked about a tiered program. We also talked about having a rate for having a rate for residents, a rate for commercial, and a rate for industrial. And we evaluated that back and forth. That was looked at by Dave Fox, who works with Raftillis. They're the consultants that we used in the initial part of this study, and that was dismissed. But like I said, I feel your pain. I hear what you're saying, and I have directed us not to go back and throw the baby out with the bathwater, but to reevaluate what can we do to lower the fees. I hear what you're saying. So that's where we are. Mr. Parizo?
Thank you again. Eric Osmond from 125
I'm
East.
sorry, Mr. Osmond, my apologies.
So basically, the question is, the big elephant in the room is not being answered. What about the water that's going into the ground? Why are we being charged for it? That's the thing. In addition to that, I'm going to paint the pretty picture of what's going to happen here if this continues. People are going to move out of Groton City. Okay? Residential homes are going to go plummet. Landlords are going to have to start charging more money for their leases, for lease agreements to happen. So this is what's going to happen. Further on down the road, there's going to be a trickle-down effect of this whole thing. And I don't think there was that much forethought into this. So I think we need to kind of go back to this whole drawing board. We need to start thinking about what we're doing here and come up with a better plan for this whole thing. And I agree with this gentleman here. Flat fee sounds like a good idea. That does sound like a good idea. That way it's equal for everybody. But, you know, if you got a family of 5 or whatever, you got kids, you know, you're going to have to bathe them at night, put them in a bathtub. It takes about 40 gallons of water to put in a bathtub. You know, that family's probably going to be struggling financially. Who knows? I mean, you got people that live in Groton City that are on fixed incomes too as well. And I feel for them. So that's something we have to kind of think about. Thank you.
Councilor Deeble?
Well, I'd like to address maybe 2 things. So, I actually am a landlord. I own my house that I live in, and I own a house with 3 apartments in it. And I pay the water bill. There's only 1 meter for that house, and I pay the water bill. So when the whole thing came up, we discussed a lot the whole tenant situation. My tenant's water bill actually went down, or the sewer bill rather, was lower than the water bill, I think, or it went down from last month. And I am watching it closely to see, because the summer's inconsistent. People have been on vacation. I've been on vacation, so my water bill's all over the place. But I knew when we first started discussing it that I would have to make a choice whether or not I was going to absorb the cost of the sewer or add it into the lease agreements, like you mentioned. And so I got my numbers from Tina of the tax, how much I was paying in taxes, and I compared it, and my taxes overall that were going to sewer were much higher than my fees are going to be. And I had 4 tenants. Yeah, so there's 4 people living in those 3 units. And I'm still saving from my tax that was being charged before. And again, that is a landlord's decision, and we discussed it at several meetings, that whole situation, and we had brought it up that landlords have to make that decision whether or not, just like the water fee. I've always paid the water, so I figured as long as the sewer made sense, I would also absorb that cost, and I haven't increased the rent because of it. Also, in my house, I only have 2 people, so a flat fee, like, to me, it doesn't really make sense. I should pay more for my tenants. There's more people than me. I shouldn't have to pay the same amount as 4 people using at least double the water, especially because they're not paying for it, but at least double the water that I'm using in my own house. I feel like, to me, a flat fee would be kind of unsensible. And for, if I was on a fixed income, 2 people, I wouldn't think it would be fair to pay the same amount as someone who's got 5 people in their house. So this wasn't done with no forethought. We discussed it for months and months, and all of us have such different situations that we actually have many, many perspectives on it. So we did discuss that at length. And we are really trying to do what's best. And I think I would like to say the mayor did mention that he's planning on reviewing this, and just know that all of us are also on top of the utilities to review this constantly, because we're paying the fees too. So we're all reviewing our bills, and we're all questioning, and we're all asking the same questions that you have all brought up too. We've discussed it, and we've gone back and forth, and we're all committed to reviewing it constantly to make sure that it is getting us to the goal we're trying to reach. So that.
Councilor Carr?
Yeah, and we just to piggyback off what we said, like our one of our major concerns as soon as this came on the board was about people who rent, and that includes residential and in your case commercial, but we did look at that, and as Councilor Depot said, even in Paul's Pasta situation, I would think that's a matter of him going back to the land, whoever owns the dwelling, and just whatever they have to tweak their lease or whatnot. I think that's between the renter and whoever owns the building. And I also think that a renter and somebody who owns their property, and I'm not going to ask you if you own your house or where you live, but I think we do look at it 2 different ways. Myself, I own my house, so I do look at it as a way of, okay, it's whether I'm paying it any other way, but at least I know what I'm paying for now, right? A renter might look at it totally different as just a new fee, which it is. I mean, for a renter, it's a new fee. So again, if I was a renter, I would say I would start with going back to the drawing board and going back to whoever you're written from and say, this is a change in, what I signed up for. What can you do? Because now I have an added fee. I'd say start there.
I own it, so and I feel the rent. That's the thing. It's going to come back to the landlord. They're going to have to raise their rates. The whole thing is trickle down to that. Even if you think of false positives, a perfect example. You've got a $900 bill.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have to jack his prices up. We all, if you understand economics, if
I mean,
Okay.
if you
Counselor.
own if you own a dwelling, then you should be seeing the savings on the tax side.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
You
It's
understand?
we're not double dipping. It's been taken entirely out of the taxes. So even though you don't see it yet, I think when you look at the numbers long term, it's going to make sense. It's going to be equitable. And I think like the mayor said, what we're seeing monthly is what we used to see buried in a giant tax sum that used to vary from year to year. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to, one, give the homeowners some control of that, which is by your own water usage. It's just like electricity. You know, you turn on the lights, you turn off the lights based on, your usage. So I think there is control there. I think there's, and I think that cost, you're gonna see, that cost has come out of your taxes. And I think it's difficult for people to see that when you're paying month to month, instead of one giant lump sum. So.
Time of year as well. Time of year.
Anything else from the councilors? Okay. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for your comments. We're going to move to approval of the minutes. I need a motion for the July 2nd, 2018 Mayor and Council meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Need a motion for the July 23rd, 2018 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Any communications and reports? Councilor Rusk?
Well, it's been a while since we've been here, so I've got a pretty big report. July 4th, I was able to participate in the parade with Councilor Beckford and the mayor and Councilor Sheffield and Councilor Depot and Councilor Crowder. And that was a lot of fun. It was great seeing the kids and throwing out candy. On July 9th, I attended the committee meeting for Group 2 with Councilor Sheffield and Councilor Crowder. We discussed some beautification of ideas, which correlate right now actually with something the town's doing. So I'm hoping to work with the town on coordinating that, actually, now that we found out about it. And we talked about the entryway signage and discussed Adopt a Sign again, because the signs that we looked at for the city were like $500, and I can't see taking that out of the tax base. But if people are interested in adopting a sign for the city and getting your name recognized on it, we can definitely talk about that. So that's something I'd like to talk to the mayor about moving forward. On July 14th, I attended the ribbon cutting at the Lower Costa property. It's a beautiful park. I'm so excited that that's there. On the 18th, I attended the Moby Mat ribbon cutting down at the beach. If you haven't been there, it is a mat that makes it more accessible for people with disabilities, with people with strollers and carts to get down on the water. And that was thanks to the Elks Club. So thank you to them for that, for the city. On the 19th, I attended the Fort Griswold archaeology presentation at Fort Griswold about all of that they found when they were looking at when they dug up the ground to put up the new platform at Fort Griswold. So if you haven't been to the platform, I highly recommend that also. On the 25th, the mayor and I spoke at Revisiting the Founding Era at the Bill Memorial Library. We were part of a panel that discussed how some of the founding documents were still relevant to today and our government and our society. That was interesting. On August 1st, I attended the Board of Ed Liaison Committee, and I do have some stuff on that. From the Board of Ed, the middle school physical plan has been approved, so that is moving forward for the 2020 plan. both of the elementary schools, which will be at Cutler Middle School. So they're looking at Cutler Middle School and West Side, and the question was whether or not they were going to be able to renovate them or whether or not they were going to have to build new. And the state has determined that it will be less expensive to build new, so they will be building new buildings at both Cutler and at West Side as part of that plan. 80% of that will be reimbursed. 80% of the cost of that will be reimbursed by the state, and that includes the planning of that. So it's still a $180 million project for all of it, which was approved by the taxpayers quite a few years ago, but that is moving forward. The town council had the Merritt property before the judge, so that is still moving forward. Groton Heights, if you are interested in bidding on Groton Heights, the bids are due on August 24th. The town is asking that you have a plan in place, that you have your financial plan in place, because they really want people who are looking at the school buildings to have a plan and not to have them be purchased and then continue to sit. So that is due by August 24th. North End, where there used to be North End Deli Burger Fly, is moving in, which I guess is a chain restaurant I had never heard of, but that should be moving in soon over by Big Y. And they are looking at a new beautification committee, which they are planning on doing with no tax dollars, all volunteers. The first meeting is September 10th at the library, and I don't remember the time, I apologize, but you can find it on the town website. And if you're interested in that, they're looking at how to kind of beautify the town of Groton as a whole. We're hoping to work together as part of the city to include in that whether or not it's volunteers to help clean up the community, a flower or a tree to unify the city that's pretty. So they're looking at doing that, and once again, that's at no taxpayer dollar. And then on August 3rd, I attended City Day. And thank you again, Clerk Patrick.
Councilor Becker.
Well, this is going to be very brief in comparison. But I did, on July 18th, I did go to the MobiMat ribbon cutting, and it was great because it's going to give a lot of access to folks that may have mobility issues, but there was already some use by folks with strollers that very day. So it's gonna work out for a lot of our citizens, and thanks again to the Elks for that. And on August 3rd, I was at City Day, helping with the hot dogs and burgers, and that's all I got.
Okay, Councilor Sheffield.
Yes, top of parade, July 4th. Also attended Group 2 committee. I wanted to discuss, particularly, I guess, with Ron Uhas regarding, I think it's number 20, regarding the union retirement age. Are we eliminating that from our, is that
I think this was brought up a few other times, and it was agreed that we just leave it on there for any future discussion.
Okay.
That it's not there as an action item at this time, but merely there as something for future discussion.
Placeholder?
Placeholder, yes.
Quite a few years ago.
Okay.
Okay, just wanted to follow up with this. Okay. And secondly, we just touched upon the Mother Bailey. It's just possibility, hopefully using the TIF funding as part of the development for the Mother Bailey house. Hopefully, if that's something that's down the line, not etched in stone, but something to, think about if Thames Street is part of all that. So, just throwing it out there.
So, okay, what was that again? About
the Mother Bailey?
Mother Bailey?
Yeah. Is that a possibility?
Well, currently the city owns Mother Bailey House.
Right.
The TIF is for if you get developers to come in. So right now, we're working with the Friends of Anna Warner Bailey chapter of the DAR to see if they can get financial wherewithal, and if so, then it may get turned to them. But if not, because I've explained to the chairperson that the clock is ticking, and at some point, I'm going to come to the council and say, we have run out of time in my estimation, and we need to consider other alternatives, meaning selling or auctioning or something, and then the TIF might come into play then.
That's my hope.
Okay.
Also, July 10th, attended the farmers market. Encourage everybody to attend the farmers market for fresh produce, and I think it's a good thing to attend, and I know they had some pretty good stuff out there already, so I would encourage everybody in the community to attend the farmers market. Also, attended the ribbon cutting at the Costa property. There was one of the residents wanted to know if we had named the park yet. Have we decided on a name? That was something, if that's something that's been...
That is, it is currently referred to as the Lower Costa property. At some point, I am talking to the Parks and Rec director, and I don't know, we are going to name it, but I'm not sure yet how we're going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to send it to committee, or if we're going to talk about it to committee of the whole, or if we're going to go out to the community at large to get names. But now that the ribbon cutting is complete, and we now have the newest park, you're right, we should probably give it a name. So we are, it is on my list.
Okay. Also attended the Moby Mart ribbon cutting ceremony as well, and City Day last Friday. That's all.
Okay, Councilor Depot.
I'm going to be more brief as well. I attended the 4th of July parade for the first time, which was very fun, and we got to throw out all the candy, which was fun. And I was also going to mention the farmers market. I went last week and got a bunch of fresh produce, so I encourage everyone to go. They have a big variety, and they've got soaps and all kinds of stuff, honey and everything. So I would encourage people to stop there before you do your grocery shopping, get some fresh produce. And that is all I have.
Councilor Carter.
Just the 4th of July and the City Day. That's all.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Garris.
I attended the, both as a counselor and a member of the Elks on the handicap mat at the beach. Held a public safety meeting with Council Depot and Council Beckford. Attended the City Day, and I had the honor of standing in for you at the submarine base.
Thank you.
On the 25th for the ceremony, the groundbreaking ceremony of the new fuel cell generator, which for those who don't know what that means, that'll be another source of power for the sub-base, and the magnitude of it is such that it'll generate into the community, and it's a tremendous project. Costs a lot of money, but it's going to do a lot of good. It was one of the weaknesses during BRAC studies, which put us in much better standing should there be another BRAC study on the sub-base. So it was a pretty important event, I thought. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for attending. Anything else?
Oh, yes, one thing, I did get to wear a hot hat and
a shovel?
And shovel of dirt, yes.
Clerk Patrick.
I just wanted to thank all of the different departments who participated in City Day. I want to thank Councilors Russ, Councilors Beckford, Councilor Carter, Councilor Sheffield, and Mayor Hedrick for all of your help at City Day. Mary Hill and her staff, along with the Public Works staff, who pretty much do all of the heavy lifting for me that day, and for the rest of the departments for their displays. I think everyone who attended had a great time. The only down part of it was the fact that we had such a big crowd, we ran out of food. And that was my 20th City Day as coordinator and my last as coordinator, but I will be happy to help in the future. I think it's time for new ideas.
Director Yoss.
I just want to use this to report on a resolution that was approved back in January of 2018. That was resolution 18-1-13. That was to authorize a purchase order to REM Industrial Solutions for the removal, overhaul, and reinstallation of the primary effluent pump. The pump was removed and taken out by REM, which was the low bid. They received 3 quotes on this project. The pump was removed and taken apart, at which time REM realized that they could not perform the work required to properly fix that pump. So the pump was apart. Steve Scarpa from the EAF went up, picked the pieces of it up, brought it to Trevor's, who we used in the past. They were the second low bid, and had them reassess and reevaluate this pump, which they deemed that they could fix and go forward. So what we need to do is do a new resolution at the next mayor council meeting to approve Trevor's to rebuild that pump and reinstall it, because it is over the $10,000 threshold, and this money is coming out of the equipment replacement fund, which is still a city fund based on timing of when this all went down to January 2018. So we're not going to rescind the original resolution because they did start the project and did the dismantle, but we will need to do a new resolution to Trevor's, which will be an amount not to exceed the $20,000, which was the original quote.
Can I ask
Councilor
some
Russ.
questions on that? So the dismantle, how much was approved for the removal, and how much is actually going to, how much is it going to actually be?
The resolution that was approved, their bid came in, REM Industrial came in at $16,335 with contingency. The council approved an amount not to exceed $20,000. And then, so there was no set amount in that quote as far as each step of the process as to how much. They did invoice, and it was $22,250 for removing that pump and the dismantling of it.
22?
2,200.
Oh, 2,000, okay. I was like. Okay, much more reasonable, sorry. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions on that? So I felt that due to the sense of urgency on getting this pump repaired, I felt that it was important. So we're bringing it up now, and then we'll have a new resolution. We'll ask you to vote on this on the 20th. I didn't want to wait to go through another committee of the whole on the 27th and then get it to you in September.
So just to make it clear, that not to exceed 20,000, we were already taking out that 2,000 that they took to remove and dismantle.
I'm going to have to find that out for you. I'm not sure, because when these quotes came in, it was for the entire project.
Right.
They stayed good with their quote back from November. Was it not to exceed 20,000? I can have Kevin reach out to them. They didn't think that was going to be the 20,000. Their quote was actually not to exceed 20,000. So I don't know with taking that out where they stand with that, but I can have Kevin reach out.
Yeah, we could take a look at that. I understand your concern. The fact that it's removed and disassembled, that should take some of the price down. Now they just have to reassemble and reinstall. We can get Kevin to take a look at that, and we will have that information for you on the 20th.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, I'm going to be brief. Groton City Day, Deb, I want to thank you for everything you did. It would not happen were you not involved for all these years. And I agree with you that the Parks and Rec Department are instrumental in getting it set up and taking it down. Also, in part of taking it down, there were members of Public Works that helped take it down too, because it takes more than just the 3 guys. Actually, we only have 2 guys with Parks and Rec now, one of them is out sick. So we needed some assistance. The department heads did a great job. I had Chief Spellman, Chief Tompkins, and myself and Captain Jenkins were grilling hamburgers and hot dogs as quickly as we possibly could. Deb was there. Linda Avedizian, the HR director, was there. You weren't there? Okay. Let's see who else was there. Ted Sargent, Deputy Chief Sergeant, Fire Department was there. Mary Hill was there, and Mel from Finance.
And I apologize for not remembering the department heads who are behind the tent with us as well.
No, we're looking for that new.
Captain Jenkins.
Yes, we're looking for that new cool grill technology. Because let me tell you something, it was hot Friday. I mean, it was hot without the grill, and then you have the flame. So it was a tremendous event. I had an opportunity to go out and talk to the patrons that came out. Again, this is our give back, the city's give back to those people who live, work, and play in the city. So that's that. All right, committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals? I have one. I'm going to refer to the Beach and Parks Committee that you guys look at the Tyler House and the Zabierski House and the use of those houses and how we could just look at either the more use of them or the ability to use them. I think there are limitations, but I think there's things that I know that you guys don't know and that the public doesn't know. So I want to get it to the committee so that the committee can research what we can do there, and that includes, for example, in the Zabierski House, marketing of it more. I think that there's more things we could probably do with that. But like I said, I'm going to give it to committee and let the committee do their magic instead of trying to direct it from my side. Are there any other committee referrals? Councilor Rush.
I'd just like to readdress to public safety the need to look at crosswalks. I don't know if that's been addressed yet. I haven't heard anything back, so I'm throwing it out there again.
Okay. I talked to Tim Ummers today about purchasing signs in addition to that in the Public Safety Committee, but he has them on order. We will put them at the crosswalk by Park and put them at the crosswalk up by West Side. And we're going to also look to see if there are any other highly trafficked areas, and then possibly do that. We do have the speed limit trailer that is down.
Tyler?
Thank you, on Tyler Ave. To remind, because we had some people that were speeding down there. Councilor Rusk.
I would definitely recommend the one by Cumbies because there's a lot of increased traffic there.
Okay.
And also some down on Thames Street because when people are exiting the city at night, it tends to get it's pretty scary down there.
Okay, so these are walk sign. Okay.
There's a crosswalk at Cumbies, but there's no sign there.
It's not bright enough. A lot of the paint is.
Yeah, they need,
worn
yeah,
down.
just need more paint, yeah. Okay, they've painted the lines, but they
Not a problem. I'll have somebody take a look at that. We can also evaluate that in the Public Safety Committee, but I can talk to Director Roberts about that.
I don't want to make this a free-for-all, but I want to just follow up with something that somebody who had attended a couple weeks back had mentioned Smith Street, and I have noticed increased police presence on Smith Street, which was a concern of his, so just wanted to note that.
Thank you. Well, we are responsive when things get to council, and then they get to me and the department heads. We do take action on it. So, anything else? All right, moving on to new business. Councilor Rusk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution R-18-8-91. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council waive the bid process and authorize a purchase order to Tritech Software System, 4509 West 58th Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, for Information Management Corporation, IMC, software support in the amount of $14,038.80 to be paid from FY19 Police Department operating funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? We talked about this during the committee of the whole. Councilor Russ?
This is the one that it's 5 years? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on this resolution? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimous. Councilor Beck?
Sure. Resolution R-18-8-92. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council accept a donation from Groton Congregational Church Parks and Recreation Summer Camp Scholarships, the amount of $500. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimous. Deputy Mayor Garish.
Resolution R-18-8-93. Therefore, be resolved that the mayor and council accept emergency management performance grant, SUBGRANT award in the amount of $10,000 and no cents from the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, 111 Country Club Road, Middletown, Connecticut, and that Mayor Keith Hedrick be authorized to sign such documents. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I want to add that for July 23rd of 2018, the minutes reflect that this grant is used for funding technological and equipment upgrades. The INSEP funds those upgrades. This grant is reimburses a portion of the emergency management director's salaries. So I just wanted to clarify that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Councilor Sheffield.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-18-8-94. Therefore, be resolved, the mayor and council authorize and accept the Nuclear Safety Emergency Program, NSEP, budget as requested, allocated by the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, with the approval of the State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management in the amount of $36,631 and no cents for equipment and resource allocation reimbursements. I so move.
Second.
I want to call your attention to the next to the last sentence. It says $36,631,000. That thousand should be removed. You read it correctly, but the thousand is in the resolution. Correction, Clerk Patrick, do we just need an amended motion, or how do we do that?
It was a typo.
Okay, so it's a typo, so we don't need it.
What's the correct figure?
It's correct when you have it as numbers.
The numbers.
Correct.
But it's just an extra
It's a
word
typo.
was added, yes.
Okay, so it's an extra typo with 1,000. So the amount that you said, $36,631, is correct.
Okay.
And we have a motion and a second. Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this motion, on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. We do not have an executive session, therefore we have no comments. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.